How often do you guys do this one?
So that wasn't on purpose, KJ. It just rolled into it, and I was like, "Oop!" So
it's delayed. We do this once a week, and this is Sports Talk Therapy. I'm Isaac with Fun Football Podcast. I have a show on Friday nights. Med has his own shows, shots from the sideline on Thursday nights. But we do this together every Monday. But this is our last one. We're gonna do a draft special on Thursday, and then we're gonna take a hiatus, and we'll be back in August.
Oh wow, okay.
You'll still see me on Twitter. You won't even know. You'll still see me in your comments all the time. But yeah, so that's what we got going on. But very excited. We've got a big guest on tonight. We're gonna talk Packers draft, and we're gonna talk Bears because we got a resident Bears fan and a little bit of NFC North. But we got KJ from Ike Packers. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, so happy to join the show and have a good time, talk some pack, keep it real with the fans because that's what they deserve. Exactly. And appreciate you having me.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Janae's over here saying the 3 most hated words in the NFL.
Go Pack,
go.
Go Pack, go.
I'm just playing.
So we both listened to a couple of your last shows. I've listened to several of them, but on the last couple, you said you and Alex both said some stuff that resonated with me as a Packer fan. That the draft's in Green Bay, which is extra exciting. I wish I was going, but off of that, which I want to ask you some questions about that because it's the first time it's ever happened. But I've got a lot of questions for you, but what are you most hoping for this week? Is it a number 1 receiver at 23? Is it an edge rusher? Is it, I'm hoping you don't say an offensive lineman for the love of God.
No, if
we draft another offensive lineman, you won't, I'm going to be upset. What are you hoping for with the number 23 pick?
Man, the thing that would make me the happiest is if we got some news that they swung the 23rd overall pick in a trade for Trey Hendrickson. Because that's really, we're not one draft pick away from getting to where we need to be, and that's a Super Bowl, or even just being a Super Bowl run, Super Bowl contender. Like, give yourself a chance in the NFC Championship game. And I agree with this guy, Queen of Premier, that we do need a receiver. If you look at the receiver room objectively, Packers have serious work to do. There's nothing there to get excited about. There's really not. I think they're trying to prop up these basically just like all of our guys, objectively speaking, and not one of them is really nothing to speak about, frankly. We don't have any 1,000-yard receiver. I think the one special pass catcher we do have is Tucker Kraft, but he's like a tight end, so we need him to do as much dirty work as possible. Yeah, okay, so let's just say we drafted Emeka Egbuka. Let's just say we drafted Matthew Golden. Those would hype me up because I think we'd actually have a shot at getting some value. And maybe if we add a talent in the receiver room, it would actually whip the other boys into shape because they have a different perception of how good they are than we do.
I agree.
They think they're all the ones, but and I have to admit, I was buying in a little bit. And then shame on me. But you have to be willing to keep it real and just say they could be number 1s if they basically focus and put in all the grind that maybe more competition being injected in the room would bring. Another deal we floated out there, maybe it's a 2nd-round pick gets dealt. I don't know how this trade package would be looking. But if the Packers did a package deal, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, everyone wants to act like, oh, no, watch. Just watch what would happen. They're not.
That would be the move.
But if we actually want to go to the Super Bowl, we've got to take some chances. Clearly, the method hasn't worked. We haven't been back there, 14 years? I think it'll be 15 this year. That's an atrocity. And the receivers are too comfortable, Queen of Premier. I agree with you. They got high on their own supply, and that's something you can't do.
High on their own supply. No, I agree with you, because even if we like magically we draft Igbuka and he's 1,000-yard receiver, we still have a pass rush problem. We have to. The only way we're going to be like a true contender is if we landed a number one receiver and a number one edge rusher. We still have other needs too, but we would have to get both of those, and that is very unlikely to happen in one draft. And even if it does, they're probably going to take 2 to 3 years to develop, anyways. So
here's
I'm
the
with
other
you.
thing. We're not even talking about cornerback as a need, right? Because
that's a tough one. It is, because it's like, is Alexander going to play?
Like, you remember the old era when we had like bodies back there. We had random bodies, and we were just Rodgers would go and get us a lead, and then we'd be shredded like twice as fast. We don't want to go back to that. I think it's been a little bit of enough time where Packers fans might might be like distant memories where the events of current have kind of like overtaken those memories, just because we've had a pretty solid secondary for a long time. Whether you combine like the safety player or the cornerback player with Ja back there, it's like a big juicy name that you can be like, oh, we're set. But it doesn't appear to be the case anymore. If you saw those two needs, number one receiver and Jalen Ramsey, obviously you got to restructure some cap, and then you swing the first for the pass rusher. Like, maybe you get trade the second. I don't know what that deal would look like, but clearly those guys are not at the peak value. Maybe you have to add another pick in there. Maybe it's like a second and a fourth or something. I'm not saying the Packers are going to make any moves, right? Because we just don't make trades like this. But if we're actually serious about winning a Super Bowl, they've got to do something besides draft random guys like Jordan Morgan. It's painful. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing. I've been so optimistic. I've been so optimistic on our management for a long time, and I've given we've been very, very, very positive throughout the saga of Ike Packers, but we've also just been critical and keeping it real when they need to keep it real. For example, when Rodgers was winning MVP, we were tooting his praises. We're kind of gassing him up like he deserved to be. We're just kind of laying the stats. But when Ryan Rodgers was dropping off, we were kind of saying, hey, do we need to look at this and maybe make a change or something? So, right now, I think the sentiment from me at least is just like I don't really buy into our management anymore. I don't really buy into our coach. I try to be optimistic because they're here, right? So it's not like those guys are going to be like gone tomorrow, but they lack accountability. It's like we're such a pretender, and it hurts me to say that because the Packers have been Super Bowl contenders for so long. If you judge by the regular season, why have we only been to one Super Bowl in forever?
That's said this.
And no one seems to be talking about it. Like, no one seems to care because they're too afraid to offend, someone they think they have access to. It's like, it's just hilarious to me, bro. It's like our team has such obvious shortcomings. It's we got to do something. Otherwise, we're just going to run on the treadmill again. We're just going to run on the treadmill.
And with some of the stuff that I've actually seen and everything, I'm guessing I'm a little bit older than you. I'm 44. So I watched y'all's team in the 90s when y'all had Gilbert Brown and you had Reggie White. Y'all had an actual pass rush with Dotson on the outside.
Leroy Butler.
And one of the things that I've always pushed was that y'all need to get another edge rush really good, or at least a really solid defensive tackle like Kenneth Grant or something like that. Can really hold against the run. I mean, sometimes that really feels like it. Y'all actually transitioned from the 3-4, which y'all kept since the Don Caper era from back in the 90s all the way up until now, and y'all switched over. It actually went pretty well with a 4-3. So I just think y'all just need the right personnel for it. And, y'all, the fact that Aaron Rodgers only got one Super Bowl, in fact, y'all had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks in 30 years, only two Super Bowls. It's kind of a travesty.
It is a travesty. And it's because you said it, the times we've been aggressive in free agency and aggressive for the right players, we landed Reggie White in free agency, won a Super Bowl. Now, it's hard to land a Hall of Fame player. We did do it last offseason. We actually that was the first time we spent on a premium player on offense, a skills position player in a long time. We hadn't spent on a running back, receiver, tight end. We hadn't spent more than $5 million in free agency or a first round pick since Josh Jacobs and then Javon Walker in 2002. Josh Jacobs was the first time we spent on running back in over 20 years. We haven't spent a first rounder, and we went out and paid a dude. But the problem is, even though I love him, this has been his career. So if we're bouncing, we're going to put all our eggs on running the ball. That's not a great plan. And one of the reasons why is our ownership is we don't have an owner. There's nobody, even though I hate Jerry Jones, he'll go to he is the GM. He'll tell his son, hey, go make a trade for Amari Cooper. And they did it.
No, they got Jonathan Mingo. That tells you all you
now
need.
Now they got Jonathan Mingo. Now they're
So,
sucking now, but the Eagles, they went out there and took a swing. They took several swings. They went outside Saquon. They've been aggressive.
Right there.
The Lions were aggressive last year too. They went out and got Za'Darius, and they've made aggressive moves in the draft and free agency. If we want to contend, you have to be more aggressive. You cannot always be conservative. And
KJ, we're very realistic.
We signed Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs are not aggressive. The best move we made in the offseason was re-signing our kicker. That was the best move we made.
Yeah, man.
And McCole Hardman's a returner, man. Med was joking with me. That's our number one receiver.
I remember when Josh Jacobs came up, he was like, we need a true number one. We need a bona fide number one receiver. And then you signed McCole Hardman. I was like,
Well, not only that, but our own receiver room gets upset about it. It's tough, man. It's tough. It kind of says a lot about just the toughness or lack thereof of the team. And these guys they're posting like an Instagram clip here and there, and it's just like, bro, you're not fooling anyone. Like if they go out there and prove me wrong, I'm happy to give them all the praise in the world, give credit where credit's due. But they're not fooling anyone anymore. They're not. And I hope they do fool everyone, because I don't think there's very much belief in this receiver room. So if these guys actually happen to turn out to be like one or two number ones, or a 1 or 2 or 3, and it's like cohesive, I mean, that would be a best case scenario.
So just
back to I believe anymore.
Yeah.
I believe in this set of guys to be anything more than, a bunch of 3s, frankly. Maybe a 2, like maybe you can find 1, 2 in there, but yeah, Matthew Golden, he looks dangerous.
Speed.
Mekabuka, he looks dangerous. And I don't know if I'm as big a believer in the Teteroa McMillan guy. I just don't really trust the AZ in terms of just pumping out athletes in the NFL. Al and I were talking about how Gronk is like the lone exception to that, but who else did they put in the NFL that's been any good? No one I can really think of. But, this guy kind of came out of nowhere. He had a really good first game. I know he was highly regarded earlier in the year, but
yeah, it's been a minute. Oh, Jordan Morgan's one. Teddy Bruschi and Lance Briggs are the other 2 big names.
Oh, those are solid guys. Those are solid guys, but it's been decades. If you think about it, it's been 20 years, right? So I'm sure they exist. I'm sure these guys exist out there, but it's not necessarily even Georgia. You got to be a little skeptical. We went heavy on the Georgia athletes like it was the answer, but it's that's proven to be a little false in itself. You know what always seems to work is Ohio State wide receivers.
Very true. And I think y'all should actually target Emeka Egbuka because of the simple fact that, one, he can catch. I mean, he is the career leader in receptions for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And just kind of to backtrack a little bit on what you said earlier, if your team was to actually swing for a trade and get Tyreek Hill, how do you think he would actually influence that receiving room as far as him being basically considered a diva? Would that hurt your team?
Are our receivers not divas?
I mean,
you got a diva. Romeo Dobbs is a diva.
You see how fast Tyreek Hill is?
Even at 31, I'll take it, man. He'd be a step and a half faster than anybody else in the receiver room.
Dude can take it to the house any play of every single game, and he does take it to the house. I don't know how many TDs he had last year, but I mean, I think even his worst year of his, basically, I don't know how he did his rookie year. I'd have to double check, but I think last year he had 900 some yards or something. It was a very trying year. He got arrested.
Yeah, I was going to say, got hurt a couple times.
I think that would have been the Packers' leading receiver. Our leading receiver was 800 yards. We really got to be honest about what our receiver room is. It is nothing right now. Tucker Kraft is a player, but our receiver room is a lot of unknown. I know there's potential within that room, but man, add another guy to that room. Add a Tyreek Hill. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great about that receiver room. add a Emeka Buka there, Matthew Golden, I'm feeling great. If you add Tyrone McMillan, I'm still feeling a little skeptical. He's kind of more of an unknown than the other two guys in my book, but I could be wrong. It's not like you can be.
I still think he
right
might
on the
be better
money
than
with
what we have.
Can't bat 1,000.
I mean, he's 6'4" and 212 pounds. He did pop a sub 4.5 40. So, I mean, but I can understand because, like you said, I mean, Arizona Wildcats ain't exactly known for being that hotbed football powerhouse like other schools are.
Well, let's take Christian Watson for an example. 6'5", 4'3", right? Like add an inch, lower the 40 a sec.
Yeah.
And the problem is his film was amazing. Like if you go back to Ike Packers shows in 2022, we were advocating for the Pack to draft this guy, throwing tweets off Ike Packers, like really, really, really trying to influence momentum for this draft pick. Sure enough, they draft him. They trade up to get him. I was so hyped. But the fact of the matter is he went from D2 to the NFL, and he's always hurt. I don't know if he's soft. I don't know what the deal is, but he's always hurt, even though he's got so much talent. Where does Arizona play? In like the Pac-4? I don't even know what conference they're in anymore. Are they in the Big 12 now?
Yeah, they're in the Big 12, which is Big 12.
The Big 10. They're not playing in the SEC. And I'm not like saying I'm a hardliner in terms of you need to get the players from those conferences, because I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself that at all. But in terms of I'm big on toughness. You need to have toughness if you win a championship. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at the Tom Brady-led Patriots and Buccaneers. I mean, even look at the teams the Packers won. When the Packers won their Super Bowl, Brett Favre was super tough. The year Aaron Rodgers won it, Charles Woodson was a leader of men. You've got to have toughness. Like, where's the toughness on our roster? Adrian Cooper might have a little bit of toughness. He's definitely got toughness. But on offense, Tucker Kraft's got toughness, but not a receiver room. I don't know if he's got. I don't know if there's any toughness in there. I think Tyrone McMillan. I don't think he brings the toughness, because if you look at Matthew Golden, he actually was at Houston. He had to fight and claw for everything he had. He transferred to Texas. He balled out there. You look at Emeka Buka, he had to compete with the best of the best.
He was a little injury prone the year before. That's my concern with Igbuka. I'm like, after Watson, I don't want to get another injury prone receiver. That's my only concern with Igbuka, but I see potential number one ceiling at least with Igbuka.
So in terms of the injury, it's like I don't study his like Ohio State career. I've been on he's been on my radar for a couple of years now because he's Ohio State draft prospect. So I've known all about this guy, but it's not like I'm keeping up with like what is his injury. What is his injury is. But what I see is like he broke out like 2 or 3 years ago, essentially. Playing alongside, Garrett Wilson or, whoever he was playing with, and then Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave. And, this guy would have like the occasional humongous game. And then he was so polished, he could do it all. He was just like the guy in the room that he's almost like the Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins situation where Sammy Watkins and Clemson.
They brought up Sammy Watkins.
Was the freshman that was like projected to be a top pick. He had to stick around 2 more years. He didn't really try as hard. That's kind of like Emeka Buka. He knew he was going to the league. He didn't need to try as hard. He was like, I'm a little sore this week. I'm not going to go. I'm a little sore this week. I'm not going to go. He wasn't as high of an NFL draft grade last year as he thought he might have been. Came back for some NIL money, decided to get his stock higher. That's kind of the story I see there. I believe Ted McMillan, maybe he'll turn into a star, but like there's a good chance this guy will go on the IR.
Very true.
Yeah, and that's what's concerning is I don't want that. we already have that. And we've got a weird roster where we're really strong at certain positions. But like you said, I actually see edge rusher really similar to as receiver, where Rashawn Gary looks like a number 2 to me, and Jaden Reed looks like a number 2. And we've got to get a 1, like you said, with Hendrickson. And if the Bengals aren't going to pay him, at least try. The Bengals, exactly. They may say no. But I would love to take a shot. Like Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins might finally be willing to trade him. At least try an offer. When our GM, and this is what he's doing, just sitting on his hands in free agency and on draft night, it's just he's comfortable. He knows he's never going to get fired because Mark Murphy's not going to do it. He's about to retire. And there's no urgency you just want to be like a wild card team. You're not going for it. So if we don't improve our pass rush, it was double fold in those games against the Eagles, Lions, and Vikings last year. We played them all twice. We had no pass rush. Our defense played really good in the playoff game against Philly. We still had no pass rush, and our receivers couldn't get open. So I don't even know what Love has, even though I'm questioning him, and he's getting hurt all the time. But we need to protect him better. So I get the O-line thing, but not the first. That's a Jordan Morgan bust.
Mm-hmm.
But our receivers aren't getting open, man. Like, this was a problem for the Packers when we had Devontae Adams and freaking Allen Lazard was our number 2. When the problem is clear as day, and you look at, I saw your guys' show, when you look at the Bears, even without Keenan Allen, y'all still have DJ Moore and Roma Dunze. And Cole Kmet's solid. You got 2 guys that look like they could be ones if Dunze develops. The Vikings have Jefferson and Addison. The Lions,
they have the best receiving core in the NFL.
Yeah, the Lions are stacked. The Lions got St. Brown and Jameson Williams is looking like a stud now too. Even Patrick made some plays, but you've got a true number 1. They have Laporta. The Vikings have Hawkinson. Y'all have Kmet. Y'all have all 3 of those teams have 2 great receivers and at least a solid tight end. The Packers are out there. It's like playing poker. You're at a table and you're like, everyone else is betting hundreds, and you're like, I'm gonna bet $10. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, no,
it's just getting old, man. It is. So
yeah, we're bringing up the B team to play the premier team. You know?
Exactly, that's what it feels like.
Dude, it is getting old. I'm seeing the same thing you are, and I think this expands into a bigger conversation topic. I believe Packers sentiment is as low as it's been in several years. I believe the overall level of excitement surrounding this team is as low as it's been in several years. I think last year was a polar opposite. I think Rodgers always gave you a certain base level of hope where you thought maybe we're a couple pieces away, but the quarterback is not a question mark, like you said. I think a lot of Packers fans are questioning the quarterback. I think a lot of Packers fans are questioning the coach. I think a lot of Packers fans are questioning the GM. And it's like, I think a lot of Packers fans know that we don't have any pass rush, and finally they're questioning Rashawn Gary. You know, it's like, what? Yeah,
that was like a gimme Pro Bowl. 7.5 sacks shouldn't be a Pro Bowler.
No, it
was just like it was a
charity
Pro Bowl because he wasn't consistent all.
Yeah,
bro, he was.
It
was brutal.
What you got, man?
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, you know, I'm just listening in on how y'all are actually discussing this, and I mean, at the same time, I look at, you know, if you were to actually talk about getting an edge rusher, there are a couple players that I think would be perfect for you. James Pierce Jr. would be one of those guys. A lot of people really think that the only reason why he's really sliding is because of his off-the-field issues. But one guy I would actually kind of avoid, and I feel this way honestly about it, is Mike Green, who, yes, he led the FCS in sacks with 17.5, but he reminds me so much of Jamal Reynolds, who was a huge bust for y'all in the early 2000s. He same type of stats, same kind of just came out of nowhere. And Mike Green was also a former receiver before he was moved over to the edge position. So, you know, it's been a couple of years. He's extremely raw. He, like you said before, he can prove me wrong on this, but I just feel like he has a high ceiling, but he also has a very high bust potential. Plus, he also played against the Sun Belt. So,
yeah, that's fair. Also, I got a question for you. Would you I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this. I listened to your thing about the Packers trading back. My only concern with that, if we could get another second rounder out of it, if we were to move like 10 back, I'm not too upset if we could still get a receiver. But if the edge rushers fall, I kind of don't want to move back because that's such a need for us that if we miss on the right prospect just to move 7, 8, 9, 10 spots back, I don't love it unless we're picking up an extra second rounder.
I agree.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, honestly, Al and I were talking about how basically the value of these draft picks is never higher than in like these moments right now.
Mm-hmm.
And right when you get, like, even when the draft starts, it's like, obviously the first round's got value, but I would argue even when you get to like the back half of the first round, when teams will start trading back to pick up like a 4th or 5th, you know, you're like, okay, I thought these things were like gold, you know, a couple days ago. And when the middle to late rounds happen, people just throw these picks around. Oh, take an extra pick the next year. Oh, trade some picks, get this guy. And we've got to almost like maximize the value here because pick 23, it sounds so juicy when you think about the prospect of a guy falling. But when the board always shakes out and you end up with a Jordan Morgan, you're just like, oh, gosh, you're like, is this guy really more valuable than a Trey Hendrickson or something like that? Like imagine like a Garrett Wilson, throw the first for Garrett Wilson or something. Like, no, I don't know. Maybe he will be. Maybe Jordan Morgan will be. But like,
no,
what are we doing with this signing otherwise, right?
Cooper DeJean was there, man.
Yeah,
the pick was there. It was there.
I was actually talking to Isaac when y'all's pick came up, and we're listening to it, and I literally just busted out laughing as soon as I heard Jordan Morgan.
I think everyone did.
And I was like, oh my God. I said, how did y'all do that? Because I thought y'all were going to get Cooper DeJean. And when I did the mock drafts, I always went with Cooper DeJean. And now he looks like he's going to be a superstar for the next 10 years. And normally the one draft I have to ask you, and this is something that I've talked to Isaac about. I want your opinion as another Packers fan. Your GM has a history of drafting multiple players in one position. Last year, you got 3 safeties, you got 2 linebackers. Hopper, I think, is decent, but you don't really get to see him too much because you're kind of loaded at that position. And then you drafted two tackles, I believe, offensive tackles. Am I correct on that?
We drafted 3 safeties. Oh, I could pull up last year's draft class. Didn't we draft a bunch? We loaded up at safety and linebacker last year.
Yeah.
Teron Hopper.
We got okay, so yeah, we got
that's third rounder.
We got Cooper, we got Hopper at linebacker. At safety, we got Bullard, Williams, and Oladapo. And then we loaded up on offensive line too.
Adam's dropping a GPG for y'all. Y'all can go ahead and say that back to him. I'll just close my ears for a second.
I mean, he totally was. It was such a Goot. Somebody else should make our first round picks other than Goot. I don't think he should be allowed to. Like more of them have been busts than hits at this point.
I mean, it sucks that y'all don't have a true owner, but at the same time, I like the fact that y'all are a franchise that is owned by their own fans, and that is really what has kept that franchise in Green Bay, to be honest.
I've got one. I need to get it out.
We actually had an issue one time where the Chicago Bears were talking about moving to Gary, Indiana. We didn't take it serious. We were like, yeah, okay, sure, you're going to Gary, all right. But yeah, no, I kind of like the fact that y'all are owned by the fans.
It's a beautiful idea, right? Yeah. It's a beautiful idea, and it probably is best. But the bigger problem, like the owner thing, is a problem, and there's no sense advocating for an owner over the current awesome situation we have right now. The real problem is there's no accountability. Like there's no accountability from certain people in the media. There's no accountability from certain people are afraid to, ruffle some feathers, lose their access, whatever they might think might happen. There's no accountability from Matt LaFleur. There's no accountability from Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, Jordan Love. Like, where is the accountability in this entire organization? No one's perfect. Like, the Packers are going to mess up. The problem is they never really have to learn the hard stuff to take the next step, frankly. Mm-hmm. It's a toughness thing. It's a lack of accountability thing. Overall, it's just an underachieving thing, frankly. And they're too afraid of just calling it how it is. We should have done better with the quarterbacks we've had. Truly. The team building, everything you can imagine, we've underperformed. And it's so frustrating because, man, I mean, there's a lot of dressing up. There's a lot of dressing up.
I love him. I don't want Aaron Rodgers back. I'm sorry. He's 42. I don't want him back. Thanks, though.
I hope he goes to the Steelers.
I do, too. It would just be highly entertaining. At this point, rather than him retire, I want to see what happens in Pittsburgh. I think it'd be
if he went to the Steelers, I think it'd be his and Mike Tomlin's last year in the NFL as far as that's concerned in that city.
That's crazy that Mike Tomlin's on the verge of getting fired, possibly because of his regular season success. But at the same point, he hasn't won a playoff game in it's going on 9 years.
7 or 8 years.
Dang.
2016, I think, was the last playoff win. But the Packers, I mean, Okay, so Med and I have done a lot of mock drafts. I just saw Dante Thornton. I actually really like him. My uncle turned me on to him. My dad and my uncle do a lot of scouting too. They've done some mock drafts with me. This guy is a deep threat. I want to talk about him in a second. Of all the potential picks in the first round, if we didn't have to move, what would be the one that you'd be just absolutely over the moon about at 23?
23. That's a good question.
I mean, we could move up or down. I
Well,
would prefer to move up to go get Golden, but that's my preference.
yeah, Golden is one that I've been pushing for a while. I think,
Same.
a dark horse pick, man. I think it would be the tight end from Michigan. I really think like Tyler
Colston
Warren,
Loveland.
there's no way he's gonna fall.
No.
Colston
Colston
Loveland,
Loveland,
is
exactly. And the reason is you look at all these Super Bowl winners, one common denominator is they've got tight ends. Gronkowski, Kelsey, Kittle on the San Francisco 49ers. There's just good tight ends on good teams. That's kind of they're hybrid linemen.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another tight end that I think is really good. That would be if y'all were to actually go with another tight end. That's Mason Taylor out of LSU. I mean, he doesn't get as much play as a lot of people really want to talk about because LSU didn't really have a great season this past year. And he dropped.
I had a feeling his internet was bugging out. Let's just keep going. I bet he'll come back in a second. He was starting to buffer. He was starting to buffer. Did you notice? It was like I was like, dang it. Keep going. Just keep going on the tight end.
But yeah, as far as Mason Taylor goes, I think personally, I think that y'all are I'm not a big fan of Bill Musgrave, to be honest.
Musgrave, yeah.
I was never big on him when he was coming out of college. And Tyler Kraft, he is legit. I'd love Tyler Kraft, but since me and you have been talking and everything, because I had Jaden Reed on my fantasy football team, and that was a mistake. It was, I figured that he would be the guy that would take that next step. And welcome back, KJ.
Thanks, guys.
It was like I saw it buffering, and I was like, "What happened?"
All of a sudden, your words were like really gapped. It was like it happens. 3 minutes like that.
Sorry about that, but what were you saying, KJ?
That's not bad, guys. I think I closed out of the wrong window on accident.
It happens.
No, it's all good, man. We were talking about tight ends. He was on. He likes
Mason Taylor.
Yep, I agree with you on Colston Loveland. I wouldn't be upset about it. It's just weird because I actually kind of like Tucker Kraft, but it would add another wrinkle to our offense if the receiver isn't there.
Everybody likes Tucker Kraft, as they should. He's one of the few pieces we have. He's one of the few untouchable pieces we have. Everyone should love Tucker Kraft, but what about two? What about two? Like, if we don't get the receiver, I mean, that's why we got to trade this pick. We got to try and get Trey Hendrickson. We got to try and get a Garrett Wilson, a difference maker, someone.
Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I was going to say there was 2 balls that should have been 100% touchdowns that Bill Musgrave caught last year, and he literally stopped in the field to actually catch them. And one of them, that was 2 years ago. But, I was telling Isaac, I was just not really impressed with Bill Musgrave coming out of college. But like what you're saying right now, I kind of like the idea of y'all getting a second tight end and kind of do what the Patriots did when they had Aaron Hernandez and Gronk on both sides, because that's a really tough matchup right there. And if you were to get someone, say Colston Loveland, because I think Tyler Warren is going to be gone around the 10th pick. So that's a hell of a second prize, though.
That's what I'm saying. Just to think outside the box, because the draft always, you never know what you're going to get. It's kind of like the box of chocolates thing. And it seems like there's a tier drop off after the elite prospects. It's what more and more chatter, it's kind of consensus, but we don't really know what's going to happen, I guess, until these guys get on the field. The problem is now it's like all these guys have like YouTube channels and stuff. So even Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, whereas 10 years ago, they'd be like, hey, why don't you focus on football? he's like vlogging in his spare time. Shedeur Sanders is vlogging in his spare time. I was talking to an Alabama guy the other day, and he was telling me that Ryan Williams, their unbelievable receiver, or whatever his name is, he's like obsessed with his off the field stuff. And so it's like now we're in this era where like that's almost like if you can find the diamond like Tucker Kraft, who's just like, hey, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna flip the tires, I'm gonna like put in work, and I'm not gonna like post these fake Instagram videos, to make it seem like I'm putting in work and then underachieve. Like you could actually see in year 1 to year 2 that Tucker Kraft put in work in the off season. And he's one of the few guys who actually we were talking about this as a theme on Ike Packers. There were so many players who regressed in the last season. Little guys like Carl Brooks, Rashawn Gary, the receivers, like all the receivers regressed. Jaden Reed went, he had a pretty good start to the year, but what happened to him in the second half of the year? Dobbs regressed. Watson was pretty much regressing. Melton was a no name, and Jair regressed. Like all these players regressed besides the imports. And that was their first year, so you couldn't really talk about projection because that we kind of bought them as a finished product, like a brand new car. We're adding this brand new truck and Josh Jacobs and this brand new car and Xavier McKinney, and we don't have to worry if it's going to break down or not perform because it's brand new. We paid top dollar for it. It's not like it's like a used vehicle, so it's just kind of frustrating because you could see Tucker Kraft actually put in that work. You could tell by really just kind of like listening to him before the draft and the pre-draft process. We got to interview him. He was really about that work. He was like, yeah, I got offered a ton of money to transfer from South Dakota, and I actually believe in loyalty. That means something to me. I got values. I got a reason to play hard. My dad died in a tragic crop dusting accident. I mean, it was just green flag after green flag after green flag. And he's one of the few guys who actually progressed from year 1 to year 2. Man, they're hard to find. Those guys are hard to find.
No, I agree with that. And go ahead.
Yeah. No, Edgerrin Cooper it's funny, our number 1 pick sucked, and Hopper like flashed a little, but it was really when Edgerrin Cooper got in, he started looking great, but it was another rookie, and Evan Williams when he got some time, and Bullard. So we were like super strong at certain positions, but then like our entire receiver room regressed, and our pass protection was really suspect until we had Malik Willis in, because Jordan Love, his mobility was compromised like half the season because of his leg was messed up. So yeah, it's frustrating because I think development's a big thing. Like we were talking about this on the show last night.
I think we need to hit this question next too.
Yeah, I agree. The Eagles develop their defensive and offensive lines. They get the right guys in, but they have the right coaching and they develop their players. I think this is another element in Green Bay that's kind of lacking. We've had certain positions that have been weak forever. Like it's like, why can't we get a defensive tackle to stop the run? It wasn't until we got this DC, our run, and we switched to a 4-3, our run started to look better, but we haven't had a Gilbert Brown type since BJ Raji. Why can't we like Devontae Wyatt looks okay as a pass rusher, but we haven't had a solid defensive tackle in a long time. Our receiver room's been weak for a long time since we had since our last Super Bowl with Jordy Nelson, and we had a bunch of guys behind him that were good. We had Greg Jennings. We haven't had. It's just been frustrating, man. Devontae Adams was great, but like, there's a lot of issues in Green Bay. It's a little frustrating, but
exactly. You made a great point. It's a deeper thing. It's overall lack of. I mean, I think the leadership's kind of. It's not championship leadership, right? Like the Packers kind of have a good formula going where they can get in the dance, but I don't think anyone really fears Green Bay anymore. I think Rodgers had that with him, and they didn't really fear Green Bay, but they feared Rodgers. Like, oh gosh, I don't think about Green Bay. I think about Rodgers.
Understand that.
That's like,
yeah, no, I trust me. When the guy's sitting there doing his discount double check and saying I own you, my wife looked at me and she's like, "How do you feel about it?" I said, "He's not lying." It was like the Grim Reaper for us. For a while.
It seems like Matt LaFleur, he doesn't inspire you to do anything, frankly. He's just like, okay, good job. It's like, dude, what about
there we are. Good job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, use your participation trophy. And it's just sad, man. I think they need to I'd be shocked if the Packers get any better this year. Honestly, like I hope I don't I'm not super confident in this team, and I wish we could win a Super Bowl because that's like the standard we like to hold is Super Bowls. So the standard the players have set, standard Brett Favre set, the standard Rodgers set, standard all the players like Reggie White set, guys who came before those guys, Charles Woodson, Super Bowl standard. Right now, the guys are just chilling. That's a problem, and no one seems to be willing to call it out. I think a lot of fans see it. It's like, okay, if you got issue here, if your team is always injured every single year, it's just like in the culture. Let's get some more toughness in here. Let's get some more accountability in here. Here's a funny part. Here's some truth for you guys and for all the listeners out there. We're blessed where we actually have a client in the NFL. And he's a tough guy, team captain. And you know what he tells us? He says the only time you are not hurt as an NFL player is the first day of training camp. So whenever these guys are saying they're sore or my toe hurts, my foot hurts, my arm is bruised, it's like the actual NFL players out there in the sport, every single one of them is hurt. Every single one of them is hurt every week. And it's a toughness meet. Like if your foot's broken, you can't run, right? If your arm's like hanging by a thread, you probably can't catch a pass too well or throw a pass. But everyone is hurt every single week. And the Packers seem to have this culture where we're just weak. Our guys are always injured. They're always missing time. It's hard to get consistency. Oh, just wait until so-and-so comes back. Just wait till Watson comes back. Just wait till so-and-so comes back. It's like, wait till we get Marshawn Lloyd next year. It's like, bro, when are we going to start taking this stuff seriously and actually compete for a Super Bowl? Because we got to do it top to bottom. We got to look at how the best of the best operate. And the Packers are so far away from that. It's just, that's something that we see. And I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, but.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I call it charm and soft.
I think we are going to be really good at certain positions. Like, I think our secondary is going to be good. I think our linebacker room is going to be good. I don't trust our pass rush. I don't trust our receivers at all. And I don't fully trust the O-line, but I don't want to go spend another first-round pick on it.
Do you trust the coach?
The injury thing is frustrating. I mean, the last time we won a Super Bowl, we had like 23 dudes on IR. But I know Matt had a question for you or something. So
a question popped up, and
Oh, I like that one.
Digging Sunglasses 5, that's what we do. We roll like that. You have all tonight. What's the player in the draft you want most for your teams to take? I'll let y'all go first. KJ, you're the guest of honor right now. Please, by all means.
Man, the guy that's caught my eye this whole time has been Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's going to bust. I really don't know, right? That's kind of where we're at with these guys. But I've seen his highs, and it was very impressive. It was very impressive. I saw him running a lot of routes. I saw him displaying speed at the combine. I saw him getting in the playoffs as a Texas team, winning. I saw him transferring from Houston, so he's proven he can do it at multiple locations. He actually had to work hard to get on Texas. Texas didn't want him at first. So it's like, man, it's like green flag, green flag, green flag. I think Matthew Golden might have what it takes. And guess what? His last name is Golden. So
the gold standard.
It's
I like Golden. My only concern, dude, is that we'd have to move up, and that's just something Goot doesn't do.
I'm not saying we're gonna get Golden, but
don't get me wrong. If we could move up, if I don't want to lose Jair, but if we could move up and package a pick for next year or fourth, that's what I want. That's a good question. I want Luther Burden. That's who I like.
You like Luther Burden? You think you get him?
I like Luther Burden too.
I really like him, dude. The one I watched a lot of his
highlights. He has a great catch rate. The only reason why he had it down the year last year is because quarterback play.
When he caught one and he spun around and the guy broke his ankle, I was like, yeah, he reminds me a little of Jayden Reed, but he might be what I was hoping Jayden Reed would be this year, and he didn't take that step except for in a couple games. So I'm okay with another Jayden Reed if he can be a Jayden Reed plus, because we need a number one that can let Jayden Reed be our number two, which is what he is. He's a number two. unless he takes a big jump this year. Dubs ain't going to do it. He's too much of a whiner and he's injury prone. And Dontavian Wicks drops too many passes and he doesn't. As decent as he is at getting open, he's at best a number 3. I don't see it with Wicks. I just don't. And Bo, he was completely absent last year. So we got nothing else. Christian Watson's probably going to miss the whole season. So at this point, I think we need 2 receivers. And I really like Thornton in the 4th round. Or if he falls, I like Ty Felton a lot. I think we should go get 2 receivers and do a goody draft and load up at the position and see if one of these guys can develop. If they're not going to be smart enough to go trade for a guy that's available or go take a flyer on Amari Cooper, even though he looked washed last year, but the year before he was great. If they're not going to go sign a real free agent because we just refuse to do it, let's load up in the draft and see if we can fix the problem that way. Because that's the only hope I can have. We don't sign guys. We don't trade for them, so we're stuck. Med's loving this.
Yeah.
I don't like your idea of loading up at receivers. It's almost like gladiator tag team, right? Where you got like the early veterans and like the new guard, and you
push
know
these guys, man.
Like some greatness is going to come out of it. I actually like that idea. Fun Packers Podcast. That's a good one.
Thanks, man. I think we go get. This would be my dream. We get Golden if he's not available. We go get. They're not going to do this.
Trey Hendrickson? Garrett Wilson?
Oh, I would be if we went out and actually traded for a vet and then got one rookie. Our problem would be solved. But if we only draft guys, here's the names I like in this order. I like Golden. Golden and 10 aren't going to be there, so it's probably a pipe dream. I like Luther Burden or Igbuka at 23. I like Jaden Higgins in the 2nd round a lot. And then
what do you like about him?
He looks like a 10 plus, but I just like that he's a bigger target. I think he's got a good catch radius. We need a guy with speed. Higgins was like 4.47, so it's not lightning quick. What I liked about him was I feel like he can catch those contested passes for us because Dubs always misses time. So you got your favorite red zone target gone because Dubs is Jordan Love's favorite red zone target. So it'd give us a bigger body in the red zone. And I just, if there was a guy outside the 1st round that could develop into a number 1, Higgins was one of my top prospects because he'd be probably in that 40 to 55 range if he falls. What do you
think about this 6'5" guy out of Tennessee?
Is that Thornton? Yeah. See, what I like about him is I think he'd be a good late pick because he's just explosive, man. I saw you listed him 4.3 40, 25.4 yards per catch, 660 yards, 6 TDs. So he's never like had amazing production, but he would replace that Watson component that's gone. My uncle thinks he's the only guy we need, but I disagree. I think he'd be our deep threat. If we could get him in the 4th and get another dude in the 1st or 2nd, we're starting to solve our problems a little bit. At least.
What do you think about this Amos guy?
Ooh, that one. Med, I have not caught that guy.
Well, so this Amos guy out of Ole Miss, someone was telling me how.
Oh, Amos.
Yeah. The Packers receivers, they only do well against zone. And when you look at the plays they run against man, their ratings are super low. And I haven't personally verified this myself, but he was onto something. And so the guy he specifically told me to dig in deeper for, which I did, this Amos guy out of Ole Miss, he seems like he's got the measurables, and he seems like he's also effective versus man coverage, which, you know, when it's kind of push comes to shove on the biggest play of the game, they're probably going to put you in man. They're not going to really put you in zone. So we've got to be able to make these – we've got to be able to win multiple ways, right? If it is man, Jordan Love can hopefully diagnose that and go to a certain target. If it is zone, he can hopefully diagnose that. But, yeah, I mean, I would love to get this Thornton guy. I think I would prefer him just because I love the measurables. Like 6'5", 4'3", played in the SEC. Tennessee was in the playoff, meaning they had won some games, right? He had the quarterback that was all over the place that just went to UCLA. So it's not like he had the perfect, Joe Burrow throwing to him or someone really good in school throwing to him like a Dylan Gabriel. So there's upside there. There's untapped upside, in my opinion. You got to swing for the fences. Like, what if we went for a James Pierce or a Donovan Iziraku These pass
I'm
rusher
okay
guys
with those.
seem to rise in round 1, and then you draft Thornton, even the third, right? Because look at our 3rd round pick.
Oh, sorry, almost, dude. You got me because I was thinking receiver, and I was like,
It's
I've heard this
cornerback.
name. Yeah, no.
Trey
No,
Amos
I
from Ole
know
Miss.
Trey Amos. You were throwing me because I kept thinking receiver. No, Trey Amos would be a really good pick for us. I wouldn't completely hate that in the first, but that's a second round pick.
No, you can't get him in the first, bro.
No, but here's what Goody will do. Goody will pick him or
Harris. I'm so sorry, Trey Harris from Ole Miss.
That is the receiver.
Yeah,
Nice.
Well, I was stuck on Trey Harris earlier because I actually
love some Trey Harris.
I like Trey Harris too.
Like Trey Harris?
Well, I've been scouting the receivers because I think it's the biggest need for once, and I always like scouting receivers. Amos in the second round, almost how we say it, in the second round would be fine. My only problem with Harris is I don't like to just stay stuck on 40s, but a 4.5, we need somebody with a little more speed. But we really need more than anything is we need a number 1 who can draw attention and let our Jaden Reeds and Romeo Dubs and Dontavian Wicks of the world actually operate and get open. Because right now, why we're struggling is a team that has a number 1 corner. Guess what they can do? Whatever guys having juice that game is getting open, shut them down. And then we don't have the other guys that can get open. And when you run into a Philly, their entire secondary is elite. So guess what? Nobody gets open. It's the same problem we used to have when teams would double and triple Devontae Adams, and we didn't have another guy that could get open. Now, I still blame Aaron Rodgers for his last playoff game because when you have Aaron Jones at his apex and Devontae Adams at home, you got to score more than 10 if you're a Hall of Famer. But they double stacked Devontae. They just doubled and tripled them all game. And Al Lazard can't get open. He just doesn't have the speed.
Nah, brother, just Wisconsin.
Almost is a stud, by the way. There was a good Bears question, man. You want to talk about that, Ben Johnson?
Well, the Bears are getting better. I got a couple minutes here, so do you guys have any final thoughts? I will say the Bears are making moves. It's more than we could say, and I'm not as down on the Bears as everyone else seems to be. Like, I think that's more projecting. Packers fans may be projecting their own uncertainty. It's like we're so used to being top dog in the division. I think the Lions have claimed that crown. I fear that the Minnesota Vikings have the best coach in the division. I don't think anyone's talking about how they have the best coach in the division. The Packers clearly have the culture to be a winning franchise. But if you look at our pieces and our position groups this year, we're a bigger question mark as we've been. And the Bears just quietly are accumulating talent. It's one of these years they're like a spring. Eventually the spring's going to pop. And I don't know. This might be the year.
Once every 10 years.
If ownership doesn't get in the way, I think that the Bears actually have a legit chance.
Yeah.
That's been my only question with the Bears. I've told Matt about it, is I don't trust what they've got going on at the top. But, I mean, we've got our questions about the Packers.
Well, I mean, Bears fans don't know what's going on at the time. So.
The Lions still losing both coordinators. I feel like this division's up for grabs, and then you've got the Vikings without with question marks at quarterback. So this is a very up for grabs year. That's why I was hoping we'd be a little more aggressive. In the end, I wasn't upset that we made moves. I just didn't like the moves we made because signing Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs wasn't the two positions. There wasn't a lot of depth at receiver, but there were pass rushers. And we could have gone for Devontae, even though he's aging. He would have been an upgrade over what we had.
There was just so much opportunity out there, and we chose Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs for,
you gotta love it, man.
You gotta love it. We gotta give these guys a shot, but it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I don't think there was a single Packers fan, truthfully, if you guys don't know what I actually think. I think when that news broke, I don't think there was a single Packers fan who was like super hyped. You're like, oh, Aaron Banks, let's go. It's like, come on.
I was happy that we made a move and that we needed a lineman. But when I found out how much we paid him, I was like, okay, if that's our one of 4 moves in the next 3 days, I won't be too upset. But then I found how much we paid him. And then we went after Hobbs and we gave him $12 million a year when he probably should have gotten about 5 or 6. And Banks should have probably gotten about 10 and he got like 17.
I
McKinney
see.
last year, McKinney at 17 that's market price
You're
for
right.
one of the better corners in the league.
You can
Josh
argue
Jacobs-
Josh Jacobs is too.
Josh Jacobs, yeah, I mean, he had a down season. You could have argued that was an overpay, but he actually produced. Now, for this to work out, Aaron Banks is going to need to come out and look like Quentin Nelson from the Colts to justify that contract. And Nate Hobbs, 12 mil isn't like elite corner money, but he's going to have to be a starter for us and a good one at 12 mil a season.
Yeah,
gonna have
that's
to
a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. Our kicker, at least we shored that up. That is the one thing. Like, I don't like what the dude did in his personal life, but at least he's been it. I know you got a boogie in a minute. So this is a great question.
I was gonna say 11 or 12.
I was going to say 12.
I'm gonna go 10. I'm sorry, I'm being pessimistic. I want to see what happens with the draft. I'm going 10 and 7. I gotta see a good draft to get to 12 again. The division's gotten better, and I'm worried we took a step back. I'm going 10.
Oh! I think this is just how much.
Wait.
The
How
division,
many wins? Oh, I was thinking Packers. Actually,
I mean, we've been talking about him the whole time. So, I mean,
I think the Lions took a step back. I think the Packers will be 10 and 7, and I think the winner in the NFC North will be. I think you guys nailed it. 12 and 5 at most. I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any way anybody gets more than 13 wins.
I don't think they're getting more than 12. I
Nope.
think 11. Like, I think the Pack. We have to go through the schedule when that comes out, but right now I'm worried. I'm worried that. I mean, the Pack could be another third, God forbid, fourth place. You know, like, I don't think anyone's really putting that out in the universe yet because it's a little scary to even think about. But every team in the division got better. The Vikings are making moves on the defensive line and on the defensive side. They've got incredible weapons to surround J.J. McCarthy, who's proven he was a winner. They've got an incredible coach who made Sam Darnold look amazing. Like, I think he's, I don't know. I certainly don't know, but maybe they will miss the playoffs. But, I mean, I think the lines between Jared Goff being as steady as they go, their offensive line being amazing, the weapons, the running game, the head coach culture that Dan Campbell sets. Yeah, I think the Packers right now are probably – I don't think that 2 spots the Packers shoe in. I really don't. I think that we're more of kind of probably in that 3 spot. And if we swing a trade for Trey Hendrickson, meaning we add our Aiden Hutchinson.
that would move you up.
That would put us like 1A, 1B with the Lions. If you traded for Trey Hendrickson and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, Packers are Super Bowl contenders. You're like all the power rankings.
That'd be an Eagles move. That's what they do. We never do that stuff.
And
I wish we did.
They've got to think outside the box. I mean, it's crazy.
He's hilarious. He does a great show. It's called NFL Outdated.
He's a Bears fan too.
He's a Bears fan. Here's my thing: if we lean on the running game and we have a good play action and Love's, here's the thing that could help us. If Jacobs has another good season and Love can move and he's mobile, that'll help us a bunch. But we got to get a little bit more speed at receiver. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for this year, because our defense did take a step up and we did lose TJ Slayton, which is going to hurt. But Edgerrin Cooper really started to shine last year, and so did Evan Williams. So I like our secondary. It's just you nailed it, man. We need that edge rusher. Hendrickson's sitting there. He's the sack leader in the NFL the last 2 years with 35 sacks.
I don't know why everyone's acting like this guy is just like some like 2nd-rate player, bro.
He's
numbers
great,
speak for
dude.
themselves.
Cooper is a beast.
The numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, man. I think the Bears, if they can protect Caleb, their defense wasn't as great as we thought. But if they have the right draft, they could be a playoff. They at least could have a winning record. The Lions, I'm going to shock you guys. This isn't just a Packer like hope thing. I think there's a chance, not just because they lost both coordinators, but I think there's a solid chance the Lions actually take a pretty big step back this year because they got shellacked at home. And that's not like a Super Bowl hangover, but sometimes that crap lingers. And you lost Ben Johnson, you lost Aaron Glenn. Now they got a ton of guys back on defense, but that might stick with Goff. They may have a great regular season, but even if they do, those questions, can Goff do it? Can Goff do it? He hasn't done it in the playoffs. He's never done it in the playoffs. They're going to linger all season long. And it's going to permeate. So even if they're great in the regular season,
that's the thing. It's like being I like to keep an open mind towards everything, but you could objectively say the same thing about Jordan Love now.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Goff went to a Super Bowl. At the end of the day, I'm not saying Goff is Tom Brady because he's but he's really like stoic. He's a very dependable guy at this point in the NFL quarterback roster. Like the combination of him and Dan Campbell and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporte, it's a strong running game, a great left tackle, great offensive line. Like what they have is he's like a Kirk Cousins, right? He's like the new Kirk Cousins almost. And, he's not like Rodgers, he's not like Joe Burrow, not a Patrick Mahomes, but he'll get you a couple 300-yard games, get you a lot of TDs, get you a lot. He's great at game managing. And Jordan Love is like, we've been the biggest fans of Jordan Love. We're putting out all this content on Jordan Love before the Packers drafted him. So when they drafted him, we didn't think they would, but we thought there was an inkling. Sure enough, they did, kind of supporting this guy the whole way. But I have to admit, Jordan Love has brought a lot of question marks on himself. I think it's because the Packers they've just been underachieving. I think
he's looked wildly up and down. They've beat up on lesser competition. His receivers aren't doing him any favors, but
no.
At this point, like, while he's shown some flashes, if he ends up being even close to what Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre were as players, I'd be shocked. I think Med would too, honestly. But I just need to see consistency. His highs have been very high, but his lows have also been very low. When you have 60 yards in a playoff game through 3 quarters, I'm like, bro, I could almost out there and miracle get that.
Give it a target craft. He runs after the catch for you.
Exactly. It's like 3 or 4 passes. And we looked great. We had that yak against some terrible teams that can't tackle. But there were some bad teams in the NFL last year, if we're being honest. And a lot of teams can beat up on those bad teams.
Oh,
we were kind of the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL last year. The Cowboys the year before that beat up on everybody bad, couldn't beat a good team other than Seattle, and they weren't that good. And Miami, and I'm sorry, they weren't that good either. And then we destroyed them. I felt like that was kind of us last year. And sadly, the Cowboys took a big step back. I'm hoping we don't.
I'm hoping we don't as well. I think that's a good place to leave it. Boys.
Med.
Fun time.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, man. Really quick, can you tell everybody, because I know you got a buggy, can you tell everybody, I know you've got a big Twitter account, can you tell everybody where to find you and I should have done this at the beginning, but sorry, I got excited. Can you tell everybody where to find you, your Spotify, what you guys got coming up, socials, all that stuff?
Yeah, guys, just search Ike Packers, IKE_Packers, or if you just search Ike Packers in there, you'll find it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Want to check out the music stuff? You can do that too. Just type in IKE music. Want to hear what Al's working on? Ika Music, all sorts of stuff out there. Basically, we don't get paid in the sense where we're beholden to the Packers organization. We don't have sponsors to ruffle the feathers for. We do get paid in other ways. So essentially, we have a complete freedom to say whatever we want to say on these platforms. And a lot of fans like that. It means that we're able to keep it objective. It means we're able to call balls and strikes. It means that we are able to demand a Super Bowl standard, because that seems to be something that Packers Nation is lacking. And Packers Nation, Packers fans are some of the most invested fans in the entire world of sports. We talked about it, shareholder-owned team, one of the most special franchises, if not the most special franchise in the world of sports. So we can't let the special of this franchise go away. We've got to demand excellence, and you'll find that right at Ike Packers. So I just want to thank my friends right here for bringing us on the show. And you guys have an amazing evening. We'll all be in touch. Peace out, Packers fans.
All right.